This is Business Talk, and I'm Norman Liss. This program is dedicated to helping people in business do business better. We're going to be discussing a very important subject today, one that really will ring true with anybody who's in the business world, and the subject is getting organized. And we're fortunate to have as our guest today the president of the Greater New York chapter of the National Association of Professional Organizers. Her name is Celia Wakefield, and Celia, I'm delighted that you could organize your day and find the time to come here. So here's the question now. We unorganized, disorganized, cluttered people, is there such a thing as a utopian world where someone is completely organized?
I hope not, Norman, because if there is, guess what? I'm out of business.
But in truth?
In truth, well, I think that there isn't. I do say that seriously.
Why?
But, well, people are very judgmental on themselves. So what may be completely disorganized for me may be completely organized for you. That may be the level at which you are going to function.
All right, so now let's define it. What is being organized?
Well, I think that being organized is being able to go through your day, meeting your obligations, getting done what you want to have done. That's what I define as the important rather than the urgent. And arriving at the end of the day, not having that choked up stress feeling that we all get. I mean, for example, go to Grand Central at 6-ish at night and watch the faces of the people. Mm-hmm. Those are the people who have had really horrible days because they've been rushing. But if you start your day out, you know what you want to do, you get it done. And I have to say in my own defense that today I have managed to achieve that. I've seen a client this morning. I made 2 brief appointments that tied into my being on your show between the time I left the client and I came here, and I actually made it to the studio early.
What's the secret?
The secret is knowing where I'm going. And I don't do it all the time. I don't want to appear as some perfect thing. So I need to know where I'm going.
So you're saying the secret of being organized is knowing where you're going? Okay, and I'm not too sure I know what that means.
Okay.
I don't want to be disorganized in my questions, but what I really am trying to say is what do these terms mean? If you know where you're going, and what do you do about something that comes up along the way?
Exactly. I look at this as having 2 parts. What I call the tangible stuff, that's all the stuff that helps us get organized. That is everything from using a planner, and my planner's right down here on the floor. I know we don't want much on the table, but my planner needs to be close to me. You might need something from me that was in my planner, and then I could give it to you. Mm-hmm. So all sorts of tools for business, tools for homes, tools for kids. For example, if you go into an office superstore at this time of the year, it is set up to appeal to the parents and the kids who are getting the back-to-school stuff. Okay? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then there's the intangibles, and this is how you perceive yourself, how you like to run yourself, or how you are just willing to allow yourself to be run.
So let's talk about tangibles and intangibles for a moment.
Yes.
Is it being organized? Is it a question of reality
yes.
of all the things, or
yes,
is it a question of
yes.
all the things that are hanging over you, which really don't exist except in your mind, and the pressures that they bring that cause you to be disorganized? Which is it?
And how do you get rid of that?
Which is the largest factor? Is it the volume? We live 24 hours.
I think it's a combination.
We live 24 hours a day. We sleep part of that time.
If we're lucky.
And part of that time, yes, if we're lucky. And then we do things in the other part. Someone says, I don't have enough time. My answer is, you haven't got your priorities right. Because the time is there. It's the same amount of time every day.
That's right. We have all the time there is to have.
And so when someone says, I haven't got time, or I don't know what I'm doing, actually they're saying the pressure of not being in control is the thing that's affecting me, and not the volume of the work.
Yes. I think things break down into two parts, to be specific. Now, I believe your show is mainly watched by people who are running businesses, let's say, below the size of the IBMs and the Texacos in the county. Okay, what we like to describe as small business, is the term. Okay, a small business person is the boss. So if you think of them in the terms of a spider's web, let's say, every strand that goes out from the center of the web is a responsibility that person has to take care of. They are their own best salesperson. They are their own marketeer, PR, administration, financial. I've gone into people's offices where they have no bookkeeping systems and they are making real money. Mm-hmm. All these things are part of their life. They have to look at this and make decisions and priorities based on where they want their company to go and be and how they want their life to be. So it's a case of what I like my clients to do is to talk with me till we get down to what do you really want? Where do you really want to go? What's your picture down the road in 5 years' time? For example,
but Celia, excuse me for interrupting you, but what you're...
Am I being too touchy-feely?
No, you're not at all. But what you're saying here is that a person who is running a small business is really faced with an enormous amount of things to do.
Yes.
And I think that people who run small businesses are aware of that. But the problem that's being faced is, how do I cope with all of these things, and how do I do them without driving myself insane?
Okay, that's a good question. The first thing is find a support group. Build a support group. Well, that can work in two ways. Number one, you can hire staff. That can have an okay effect, but at least you can hire or you can contract out with a bookkeeper to do your books. Most small businesses have both an accountant and a lawyer. In the sense that a small business has an accountant, you might also say that small businesses who are having problems being organized should consider consulting with a professional organizer. Not because they can't do the work. Most of us know what it means to be organized. We have some vision in our mind of being organized. But in the same sense as I might be able to give myself an injection, I could take a syringe and a needle and I could stick it in my arm. It's really better to go to a professional and have the doctor give me the injection. But
professional help, I think that many companies do know to have their own accountant, their own lawyer for specialty. But the big thing that hangs over them is the pile of papers or the clutter or what do I do first?
Yes.
I know a very, very successful business person whose desk, chairs, floor are completely covered with paper. Now, this person says, I am completely organized. I know where everything is. And he knows where everything is in his file, on his chair. I don't consider that person to be disorganized.
That's correct.
Is clutter disorganization?
If clutter is stopping you reaching where you want to be, then it has become disorganization. If being around clutter makes you slightly uncomfortable, then you are heading towards disorganization. If clutter is stopping you, or if you are blaming the clutter because you are not meeting your obligations either as a business person or in your family life, yes, then it is part of your disorganization. But I know that there are plenty, very often highly creative people, very bright, who work in extremely cluttered surroundings and who state that they know where everything is. Now, if they can state that they know where everything is, and if their clutter does not impact somebody with whom they work, so that person is having a hard time fulfilling their job, then what I say is more power to you.
How about we're not talking about clutter only, we're talking about that pile that keeps getting larger and larger and larger on the desk.
Okay.
Uncluttered,
Yes.
but and where do you go? How does that pile get so high?
Okay.
And how do you avoid it?
There are two things here, Norman. First of all, there are what I'm beginning to define as two groups of people. Those of us who work through sound and those of us who work visually. And what I'm beginning to believe, and I have done no research on this, simply observation, is that if you look at the effect that television has had on our society, we generally would rather look at something than read it or hear it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the same thing applies to one's piles.
Mm-hmm.
When you have the pile on your desk or your work surface, the feeling is, I know it's there somewhere. If I have it there, I won't forget to do it. That's also erroneous. I feel more comfortable. I know the paper is there. If I put it in my filing cabinet, will I ever see it again? Mm-hmm. Well, it depends on how good your filing cabinet is.
How do you avoid that?
Well, what I do, what I recommend, and what I know a number of other organizers do is we custom design the filing system. So, for example, you're seeing me today, and you would have a number of headings when you got home, if you wish to keep the information I sent you, into which you could file this. You could file it under the name of your show. You could file it under guests. You could file it under my name. You could file it under my company name. You could file it under my association name.
So a good file system is essential.
Yes, and not only that, just to finish the thought through, you must know what first strikes you when you think of me. Mm-hmm. When you think about who was that woman I talked to about being organized, you need to then remember one of those things. Is it my name? Is it the association? Is it the fact that it's tied to Get Organized or the fact that it's tied to your show? It's very important for people to trust their first instinct when they think about a piece of paper. Now, you can do that when you're a single person in your own business or when you're the boss. When you get into a larger business and you have co-workers, then there has to be a little bit of negotiation.
Has to be standardized in some fashion so that everybody could access it.
But when you standardize, what I recommend is that you create an index. And guess what? Nowadays with copiers, everybody can have a copy.
Sure. Now we're talking about nowadays, and nowadays, of course, means that we have to talk about computers.
Yes.
Does the computer solve the problem? Our files are smaller because so much of this is in the computer.
No. I've just come from a client this morning who works in a large technology company in this county. By that I mean a corporation. Mm-hmm. And I went in to see her because of the piles that she had. Basically what's happening nowadays is we've doubled our filing. If you have email, okay, you open your computer in the morning and there's 17 email messages. And hopefully you have time to open them all. So you open your email and you read it, which is very much like opening your envelope and reading it. Mm-hmm. Then you have to file it. Mm-hmm. I have come across executives in senior positions in corporations who had no idea of what to do with their email because they didn't understand that their computer file, even though it's electronic, is made up exactly the same way as a paper file, and you have to think about your category, and then you have to subdivide it, and if necessary, you subdivide it again before you put the paper in. So it's like opening your file drawer, hanging those nice hanging files that are made by a company called Pentaflex. Those are the ones I use. And then putting the manila folders in with the names on.
Sure, well, of course.
It's exactly the same.
Of course, some of the computers work on opening up files. I just want to remind our viewers at the moment that we're talking today about getting organized, and my guest today is Celia Wakefield, who is the president of the Greater New York chapter of the National Association of Professional Organizers. I want to get back to computers here for a moment. One of the great advantages that I find in using a computer is that I can find anything immediately by various search methods, and certainly if you put them, as you have explained quite clearly, if you put it in a place which is logical, whether it be by name or by association or whatever it is, then you can go right to that. And even if you can't, there are ways to search and find it immediately,
Right,
even if
yes.
you can't find it, which you cannot do in a full
In a
draw
paper system, yes.
system.
Yes.
So there's a great advantage. How about that pile that we were talking about
Okay.
again? So you've got this pile and you don't know what to do first. How do you determine what you're going to do first?
Okay, well, first of all, if I was in your office, and by the sounds of things, Norman, you have got your act together where your paper is concerned. You keep a lot of stuff electronically. What I want to add on to that before I get back is that a lot of people are not comfortable reading their mail on the computer, so guess what they do? They print it out.
Mm-hmm.
So there they have their computer stuff, and now they have their paper stuff, and then they have their other paper stuff that comes through the door.
I actually work the opposite way, as long as you brought me into this personally. I take my notes in longhand and then
Put them into your
put in the
computer.
computer and throw away the paper.
Yes, yes.
And throw away the paper.
And that is a great way to go. The reality is that 12 years ago, there was not a PC on everybody's desk in America. If you consider where we've come in 12 years with the technology and what we're doing now, and I notice if I walk into somebody's office nowadays and there's a typewriter, I'm amazed. But when I trained back in London a little older than God here, I learned to type on a manual typewriter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have seen this enormous spread of technology
The world has
in my
changed.
lifetime, and I mean, I'm not that old.
Between computers and fax and modems
Yes.
and
Yes.
all the sources of information, the world has changed. Let's get back to little old disorganized me. And let's
Your
talk
pile of paper, yes, I'm sorry. How do you deal with it? Yes, I remember. Okay. What I do and what I recommend people do is, first of all, just take everything on the desk. That's everything that'll fit. You know, the half-empty coffee cup I would leave to one side.
Okay.
Everything on the desk, and make a pile, one pile.
Mm.
Okay, and you need manila folders. You need hanging folders. Something else that I usually take to clients is a portable filing case, one of those things that falls down, those plastic things that looks like milk
But
cases.
I don't want to put them away because I have to do all of these things.
Oh, well, you have to go through them first. Okay, this is going to be a two-step program, not a 12-step, a two-step program. Okay, so what you do is you look at the first piece of paper, and you decide whether, in fact, this piece of paper is going to make a difference to what your final dream goal is. And if this piece of paper is just something you've been hanging on to because sometime maybe you're going to write back to this person, or maybe this thing would be interesting to look at. One client told me the other day she had 5 years of back magazines that she was planning to read, and I said to her, let's be real here. Are we really going to read these? How about if you throw away 4 years?
So
first piece of paper, look at it.
Is your guiding rule throw it out?
Oh, God, yes. Out of here, straight out. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So how do I decide? I've got all these things I've got to do today. I got this pile of paper, which I'm not sure what's in there, but I know some of it relate to what I have to do today. Mm-hmm. Where do I start?
Okay, I believe that one needs to put time aside to do this. And I believe this very, very seriously. We can't continue to just shuffle through this stuff. There was a wonderful phrase that went around a while ago, touch each piece of paper only once.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not realistic. I want to say that to everybody who has been very worried because they've touched something twice or they've seen me touch this 4 times since we started. The reality is that when you touch a piece of paper, take an action step. And an action step can be the waste paper basket, it can be your tickler file, it can be, you can look at it and you can say, it's going to take me 30 seconds to make this call and order this piece of equipment. Okay? I went into an office where there was a filing cabinet in which we were supposed to be working, and the piles of paper to be filed were probably 3 feet high if we put them all together. Mm-hmm. Guess what? 3 days earlier, the person whose office was had accidentally pressed in the button on the filing cabinet. It was locked. But they had forgotten that I was coming in to file. Guess what? The fact that it was locked and the key was lost, I didn't tell you that bit, severely impacted what we could do. You got to plan ahead.
Just throw it all out. I wouldn't care.
I'm with you. Because most of it, when I sit down beside somebody, a lot of what I'm doing is hand-holding.
Yeah, you mentioned...
I do that.
You mentioned support.
They're throwing out.
Yeah.
I'm not throwing out. I'm hand-holding. I'm encouraging. I'm coaching.
You mentioned support groups and talking
Yes.
about having professionals to support. But another point that you have mentioned to me is having people who can sit you down, whether it be a professional as yourself or a friend or an associate,
or a colleague, yes.
and say, now let's go through all of this and help you make the decisions, whether to throw out, to put on the do today or to do tomorrow or put away for a month file. So you do need help. The intangible, which you talked about, is so important. The pressures, the mental pressures, not having the confidence that you're in control. Isn't that the magic word, control, that
control.
really counts?
And we all want to be in control.
Oh, yeah. You talked, I like to be specific.
Yes.
Are there
Yes.
specific steps that can be done? Can you give me a 1 to 10 list or a 1 to 5 list of things that one can do to get organized?
Well, I think the first step is to decide that you want to do it.
Okay.
And to be real.
Yes.
The second step is to realize that this is not something where you can wave your magic wand and it's going to happen. It is work and it takes time.
You've got to devote the time to it.
You have got to devote the time. You have got to be willing to take your planner and to carve out time. Now, what most people who work in my field recommend is that you don't try and eat the elephant at one sitting. You take small bites. So, for example, you do maybe an hour or 2 hours. And if this is the sort of work that is very hard for you, and there are some people for whom it is very, very hard, then bring somebody along to help you. Make sure you bring somebody along, or if you're the person who's being brought along, this is a non-judgmental exercise. One doesn't have the right to sit there and roar with laughter because there are half-torn envelopes in, or whatever, used tissues, what have you.
How to fight that old devil, procrastination,
Yes.
right?
Okay,
so now-
procrastination. Do you want to talk about procrastination?
Sure.
Okay, procrastination. I've done some reading on procrastination. I am a procrastinator. Don't mind saying it out straight
You don't have
out.
to tell me about this now. You can put it off till later if you like.
Can you put off the taping? What are we doing? Okay. Usually,
Procrastination
what
is
they
it?
have found is that procrastinators are usually very bright people who are very driven and who really want to be perfectionists. So it is the usual idea of there you are at college and we hear about, is there a student in the world who has not pulled an all-nighter? Why do we pull all-nighters? Because we have to get to the point where the adrenaline is pumping and we are forced to sit down and write that paper, because if we don't write it, we have no more space in which to negotiate. I have friends who have lost their time on their PhDs more than once. I mean, they've done all the work. All they have to do is sit down and write their dissertation. And they let it go and they let it go and they let it go until it drops. And then they start again, and they let it go, and they let it go. And one of them just doesn't have it.
Procrastination is a monster. It's fed
Yes.
by a lot of things on it. How about some more tips that we were discussing on specific?
So we've got to the point that we're putting time aside, and we're going to decide whether you're a person who wants to do the blitz, i.e. let's clean the basement, and I'm going to do it on Saturday, the 22nd of October, and I'm going to work at this all day. Now,
Set the time.
before you start, take a little time and think about the tools you need. Like my client with the lost key to her filing cabinet, okay? So if it's your office, you're going to need waste baskets, you're going to need to know what you're going to do with your recycling, you're going to need file folders, etc. If it's your home, you're going to need to know where the stuff is going to be recycled or where you're going to deal with it.
Sure.
Have the tools first, be ready to
Okay,
start.
so I got my tools and I've set the time. Where do I go from there?
Well, people have said to me when I walk into a room and it's full of paper, like your friend who has things everywhere, You can basically choose. You can choose to start on the desk. You can choose to start in the left-hand or the right-hand corner. It doesn't matter.
The key is start.
Start. Make the first step. Walk in and pick up the first object and make the first decision. Now, I have worked with people. Normally, I don't work with people much more than half a day because they really get burnt out. It's a precious...
It's emotional.
Yes.
It's very emotional.
And one has to be reasonable. There are times when you have to look at an object and say, I really am not going to keep this. Is it important to me? I had a wonderful situation.
Just let me just interrupt for a second
Yes.
here. We're talking about how to overcome accumulated
Stuff.
How does this affect the day-to-day? My daily routine, it's not the accumulated stuff.
Okay, you want to get back to utopia.
How do I, each day, get the things done that have to be done and not worry about it?
First of all, you need to plan. And most of us don't like to plan. And I think that we don't like to plan because once it's written down, it seems as if it's cast in concrete, and if we don't do it, we're in trouble. In addition to that, there are a lot of planning tools on the market, everything from software to little electronic things to paper systems, etc. Most of us have no idea of how to use them. It helps
So back to tools, back to know your tools.
Back to tools, back to training.
So you have to plan and know your tools and then...
And train with them.
And train and then...
time. Okay, this is a lot of T's. It really makes sense at the end of the day. And I don't always do this, but I know that this is what I should do and what I need to do when it's going to work and when I'm really wound up. To look at what you did that day, today, and look at what you're going to do tomorrow. And have some idea of what's important. Now, if you're sitting in and you're working on a really important proposal and the phone rings and a member of your family has been rushed to the emergency room, I suggest you save the proposal and go. Don't just go, save it first.
It's interesting that you have brought up the subject of time because that's something that we have run out of. And that's what happens in television. We have a certain amount of time and we just run out of it. So I thank you very much for coming and helping us get organized. We've been talking about the subject of getting organized, and my guest today is Celia Wakefield, who is the president of the Greater New York chapter of the National Association of Professional Organizers. I'm Norman Liss. The name of the program is Business Talk, and until next time at this time, good luck.